Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TED Talks Ball. We got a special Friday afternoon edition, a special Behind Enemy Lines edition. I got DG here.
Yes,
he
sir.
also goes by WoofyBryant. He's on his Twitter X timeline. You can find him at _ keep it prolific, all one word.
Yeah.
And then he's also part of the Kingdom Cast YouTube channel, podcast group, YouTube live stream podcast group. And you can find their at here is in the banner, and then the link to their YouTube channel is down below. And we are streaming to both channels. So, everybody, if you're on my channel, make sure you get over to Kingdom Cast, give them a like and subscribe. If you're on Kingdom Cast, if you wouldn't mind hitting up TED Talks Ball, give me a like and subscribe. It really helps. If you're on a browser, open up 2 tabs if you don't mind. Help us with those watch hours, because the subs are great, but once you hit the thresholds for the subs, it's all about those watch hours for us. But DG, how are you doing? We like to call these a faithful Friday. You guys probably have a different term for it.
Yeah,
in the kingdom there. How are you doing this Friday?
I'm good, man. Good. It's Friday. Always good when it comes to the weekend. Finally get to rest from work and stuff like that. But we call it Red Friday over here. It's been Red Friday for a long time. As far as I can remember, since I was a little kid, everybody pretty much wears Chiefs gear every Friday before, of course, before Sunday games. So this one was no different. A lot of vibes in the city. Everybody's excited. Everybody's trying to get their plans together and ready. So it's fun, man, right now. So good times.
Yeah, speaking of red, like I got my red Purdy jersey on. I got red Kittle over there on the easy chair below the Warriors light there. And then underneath Kittle, there's a red Steve Young jersey. My only white jersey for the game is old Jerry Rice over there. I may have to tear him off the wall for the game. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. It's kind of funny that both times we played you guys in the Super Bowl, the Chiefs got to wear their home reds and Niners have to be in the away whites.
Right.
But what are you going to do? Just glad to be in another one. Glad to have a shot at revenge. Obviously, we it was interesting rolling into this AFC Championship. Because the Niners were going to have a shot at revenge either way. Whether the Ravens or the Chiefs. And I wanted the Chiefs because, just because it's more recent and it's this regime for us and it's, Mahomes for y'all. And Flacco's not a Raven anymore. In fact, there's literally not one Raven player left from that 2012 Super Bowl. So it's not quite as fresh with them and not quite as meaningful. But it's amazing to me how few Chiefs are left. I mean, it's really just like Andy, Mahomes, Chris Jones, Kelsey, and that's pretty much it, right? I mean,
I think Derek 90 might be the only one. He's on injured reserve right now, but he might be.
He was a rookie, and he wasn't a starter anyway, right? But at least he was on the team. That's good to know. That's good to know, because I never want to spread bad information. Also, speaking of information, like when we started the show, I talked a little bit about you, but was there anything else you wanted to mention? Anything I may have missed? If you want to promote any shows you got coming up, we can do that now and/or at the end of the show. I like to give as many chances to help you promote you and your channel as possible.
Right. Oh, like you said, I'm with Kingdom Cast. Also, we do a separate show on this channel as well called Tell the Truth with my guys CJ and DMAC. So we're on there from Wednesdays at 8 p.m. That's Central Time. I know there's a lot of people. They're probably from the West Coast or somewhere close to there, but whatever time that is on your guys' coast.
Yeah, 6 p.m. here, 8 p.m. there, 6 p.m. here, 9 p.m. Eastern, which is everybody cares about the East Coast bias, of course, right? I mean, that's where most of the folks are here in the country. So cool. So tell the truth. So it's not really necessarily about football per se or the Chiefs. It's just more of like, tell me what it's about.
No, it's about it. It's all Chiefs related. Chiefs
cool.
Podcast. It's just two. Kingdom Cast actually started off with my other friends, Country and Chuck and Boogie and all them. They were the original crew that started the Kingdom Cast show, and then they kind of brought us on this year to do Tell the Truth as a sub show to that show. So Just trying to get that channel up and running and getting as many subscribers, especially in Chiefs Kingdom, as we can, and just talking ball and trying to keep it real with people. So
nice. That's what it's all about. Like, hopefully, just have some fun and learn a little something. That's my goal always. Learn, teach, and have some fun doing it. Really is what it's all about. So we got some folks here in the audience. Let's say hi to them. Got Jimmy Perez in the house.
What's going on?
Hey Ted, what's up, Jimmy? He says smash the like and subscribe. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. We got the Sentinels channel in the house. He obviously has his own YouTube channel, so make sure you check him out. Give him a like and subscribe. Says, why hasn't Steve Spagnuolo been mentioned in the top 5 defensive coordinator conversation?
Man, I have no idea. Your guess is as good as mine. Spags to be only shows, he shows up in big games time after time. Every time it seems like we get to the playoffs or something like that, it seems like that playbook just opens and he has all these different looks and disguises that a lot of people just can't seem to figure out. Really, here in KC, we say he's going into his bag or whatever, and it just seems like every time the playoffs comes around, man, he ups his level of play calling and coaching or whatever. I just love the way that the guys respond. Our players respond to Spags. They love him. They obviously have separate events with him, dinners, and going over to his house, and and he's almost kind of like a father figure to them or whatever. So any coach that coaches like that, I feel like any player would be obviously willing to play for. But I have no idea, man. I don't know why he's not considered more into people's top 5s for DCs or whatever. Maybe he just goes under the radar or whatever. Because
he's not really available. He doesn't put himself in the ring for head coaching roles, so maybe that's part of it. So.
I mean, and he's been a head coach before, but like I think now it's just more so that he's just not trying to go down that avenue no more. So.
I never see him getting interviewed. Yeah, so that could be part of it for sure.
Right.
Yeah, because he's very good, as we learned in the Super Bowl 54, obviously.
Yeah.
And then he's saying he shut down Kyle's offense every single encounter. Yes. I mean, when it counted, 2018, obviously Jimmy tore his ACL, but we were down by quite a bit with not much time left to go. So even if Jimmy had stayed healthy, it's pretty questionable to whether he could have led a comeback in that game. In the Super Bowl, clearly they made adjustments and shut us down. And I think Kyle stopped running the ball, which was partly our fault too. But and then 2022. We had both our tackles were dinged up when we played that game, but ultimately all 3 is Jimmy Garoppolo. So, that's the one big X factor here. And also I would say Christian McCaffrey, he obviously played in 2022, but he only had like a practice and a half before that. Didn't really know many plays. In fact, we really barely played him in the second half, which is when the Chiefs really pulled away with it.
Right.
So to kind of compare that team to what's going on now, and there's a lot of other stuff too. Our defense was massively injured as far as no Eric Armstead. Jimmy Ward was his first game back in the entire season, and he played with a club on his hand. Dre Greenlaw went down. Bosa and Mooney Ward both played with pulled groins, so we had a lot of walking wounded for that game. But facts are facts. Andy Reid is 3-0 against Kyle, and Spagnuolo has shut down our offense more than usual every time we've played, and now he's got the best defense since either of these regimes has been in place. So
of course,
that's definitely a little bit scary for 49ers fans.
Right.
Sounds like though the run defense might not be quite as scary as some other teams, so that might be a way that we might be able to attack some. What are your thoughts on the Chiefs' run defense?
It just like you said, it's spotty. I think that there are times where one thing for sure about our run defense is like if teams like to run outside of their tackles, going east and west, we're pretty good at stopping that. We got the speed, especially at our linebacking core and our secondary. Our secondary is very physical. Our linebacking core, they'll all come up and be willing to play in the run fit. So those guys all buy into that. I think where we're more vulnerable at is in between the tackles up the middle. We kind of struggle sometimes with power run teams or whatever, just because I kind of feel like we're not that team that necessarily has a lot of run stuffers per se. I know a lot of people have a lot of respect for Chris Jones, but that's kind of not his thing. Although he was better last year in the run game, I think this year he's been a lot more focused on trying to get to the quarterback, things of that nature. And I always call him, I think he's a defensive end in the defensive tackle's body. So, it's just kind of the way that it works with him or whatever. So I think we're a lot more vulnerable up the middle. And if teams commit to that, then, there are holes there that obviously can be had at points in times with us. So.
And we've gotten a little better at running the ball up the middle, but that's definitely not our strength. We're definitely more of an outside zone run team is our bread and butter.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that could be a little bit of trouble for us as well, too. Sentinel had a good point. He said, keep it simple. You have the Chiefs wearing white gloves on offensive and defensive line. When we're wearing white jerseys, I've been screaming, wear red gloves for us, so it's hard to see the holds when your hands match the jerseys.
Right.
And, I definitely think there's some I think that's a good bit of advice for our
I never would have thought of anything like that, but yeah, I would imagine that might be a statement in the locker room for you.
we better have the equipment managers
red gloves on deck.
Start ordering. Somebody said the Chiefs bought up all the red gloves so that we couldn't buy them or something. I don't know I don't think that's true, but I don't see how logistically you could possibly do that. But it was a funny statement. Somebody said, DJ Scratch in the house. He says, what's up? Go KC. Got Peter Lee in the house. He says, it's kind of weird why Spagnuolo hasn't been hired as a head coach for other teams, but yet other teams love to bribe away Niners coaching staff.
Yeah.
Well, I think some of that just has to do with personnel. I think because the Niners have had such really great personnel on defense now for 5 years, it's bound to make our defensive coordinators look a little bit better than they are. When you've got you got to have the horses, especially on defense. On offense, scheme and a great quarterback can make up for some deficiency of weapons or whatnot. But it's really hard to win on defense. You can't fake cornerback, it's just they got to be able to cover or they're going to get exposed and picked on, and teams will just go at them until you fix it, until you double cover or, figure out something better to do. And I think also maybe part of it is, like I said, I think maybe Spagnuolo's made it known that he's not really in the market. I bet if he, after this, were to say hey, I'd like to, or I guess the next time there's a round of head coaching openings, right? You were to say, hey, I'd like to be considered.
Yeah.
Or, hey, here, what about this? This just came to me. There's been some talk this season, especially later in the season, about Andy Reid retiring, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
We'll talk about Belichick maybe coming in. Who wants Bill Belichick? Honestly, I don't know. I think he's kind of overrated, especially for his age.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of it was Brady. You can say he never won anything before or since Brady. And obviously Brady went ahead and won the one against y'all as a Buck. When I talk about that Super Bowl, I always like to say Mahomes kind of impressed me more in that Super Bowl than he did in the one against us.
Right.
Even though he lost, didn't score a touchdown and all that, but the way he played without tackles in the center, or starting tackles in the center, some of the throws he made were incredible, and it wasn't just the O-line let him down. Your guys' weapons dropped some key passes, including 2 that got turned into picks. I think there's about 2 or 3 more huge ones in addition to that.
Yep.
And so it was, and also another interesting about thing about Super Bowl to me, because I cried about the refs after our Super Bowl. Let me be very clear about that. A lot of 49ers fans did. I'm sure a lot of Chiefs fans got tired of hearing about it from us. But then I was saying the opposite thing the next year, which was that they were helping Brady in that first half.
Right.
Those balls were, uncatchable, and they're calling PI, and they're making sure Brady got his scores. And then they didn't do it in the second half, but they didn't need to, right? I have no doubts if Brady needed the help, they would have been there to help him.
Right.
So that's one thing, like when I have these behind enemy lines, I always like to say is like, we obviously can't root for each other's teams, but I think we can root for like a good game, no injuries, and no refs, ideally, like no as few controversial calls as possible. And if there are some, hopefully they even out.
Yeah, for sure. Stay out of the way is what I always like from them. As long as they stay out of the way, I'm good, man.
That's my hope for sure. See here. Sentinel was saying, all I know is that our team has to play perfect football to beat the Chiefs. If we get a lead, don't take it personally. If we run up the score, we know what Mahomes can do in 13 seconds. Now, I agree. I mean, in theory, I will say though, Sentinel, that 13 seconds, what happened? It was like a little short pass to Tyreek, and he's the one who ran clear through the whole Bills defense. And Marquez Valdez-Scantling is a real good deep threat, at least as far as speed-wise. He had some troubles early this season holding on to the ball, and now lately he's been holding on, especially against the Bills and the Ravens. I want to say they're kind of game icing catches, right? That he had deep throws. So I think he's one of my X factors definitely for the game is can MVS keep holding on? Because they definitely don't have Tyreek anymore, but now they got the defense. So it's like, so I don't think either team's going to be able to run up the score personally.
Yeah, we're definitely not that same explosive team we used to be, where we could score in 4 and 5 plays in a drive. It's a lot this year has been a lot more of a 9, 10, or 12, 13 play drives or whatever. And then also we've been a team that's kind of been, throughout the regular season we were inconsistent. This playoff run is probably, we've gotten to the point I think we're probably playing our best ball, especially offensively, even though last week I know a lot of people will say, well, you guys didn't score in the second half, but I think we've kind of committed to what we are right now, and just being a team that takes care, especially offensively, that takes care of the ball, scores, picks and chooses our spots to score when we can, and then rely on our defense, obviously, to go out there and do their job, because, of course, they've been doing it all year. So,
13.7 points per game. I think I saw there was a stat about that. I'll look it up here in just a second. But I was going to get to some more of these comments here before I get too far behind. Daniel Berry Sports Highlights in the house. He's saying, yo, what's up, Daniel Berry? Make sure you check out his channel, everybody. He's also a Rams fan, but he's pretty cool, I will say, for a Rams fan. One of my faves. We got Lady Sky TV in the house saying, hey, what's up, Lady Sky? Welcome. Sentinel saying Belichick had 2 rings as a DC before Brady. Put some respect on the man's name. He's shut down twice. I guess I don't count Kyle losing the Super Bowl before he became a head coach, so I don't count Belichick winning one before he became, because to me that's Bill Parcells won those, not Bill Belichick. But I get it. It's a good point. It's not like he had nothing. I'll give him partial credit on those because he was the defensive coordinator, and they did win with their defense. Those Giants teams, but then again, horses. He had Lawrence Taylor, man. Come on, I mean, like, it's not like they were devoid of talent or anything. That's not all. So yeah, and that's interesting. It's always interesting to talk about for sure. But I think I'd rather have Spags than Belichick personally. Especially, all right. Here's the thing about Belichick. Look at Mike Shanahan's coaching tree. Right. You got Kyle, you got McVay, you got LaFleur, you got Saleh, D'Amico Ryans, McDaniel, and now even Again, the guy in Atlanta, DC from the Rams, Raheem Morris is my head coach of the Falcons as well too. Mm-hmm. You look at Belichick's tree; it's like, Vrabel out of a job right now, and even he wasn't in Belichick's coaching tree. He was right. Did he ever coach for the Patriots? I forget. I know he played for the Patriots.
Who you say again?
Mike Vrabel.
I don't think he didn't coach with Belichick, but he
played under him. I kind of count that. Yeah. But and obviously Matt Patricia has not done well, and I forget the others.
But. Yeah, his tree's not very good.
There's no branches. There's no branches on his tree, man. It's like that Charlie Brown Christmas tree. It's pretty pathetic. Yeah.
Right.
But and he's just, and the main thing is the guy's just old. I mean, just look at Pete Carroll too, right? I mean, you get to be 70 plus. It's just like time to let the younger guys take over, I think.
Right.
But that's just me. About the Brady thing, you weren't just going to let the players play and get away with a hold on receiver, especially if that receiver plays for Tom Brady. Yeah, I guess. Like I said, I just felt like the balls were uncatchable, and that should be part of the equation when you're calling PI. It has to be a catchable ball, theoretically. And I know if it's slightly uncatchable, they'll call it, but like those I felt were very uncatchable. Yeah.
No, there was a lot of questionable calls in that game, but man, that offensive line, we weren't gonna win that game with that offensive line. Like, we were toast before that game even started. So.
Yeah, you guys' center was out, and I'm blanking on the other guy who I hated the most.
We had lost Mitchell Schwartz, who up at
who's great. He's right tackle. Who's the left tackle though?
Eric Fisher was on the other side. Yeah, we lost him too.
I did not like him at all.
we were cooked. Like if anybody thought we were gonna win that game, you were fooled. So.
I certainly didn't. Yeah, I didn't think so. I picked the Bucks due to that line for sure. To be honest, I picked the 49ers to go to the Super Bowl this year, but the unfortunate events hurt in the end. Philly was a bust. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's an interesting thing about the 49ers is like we really like to hang our hats on the Cowboys win and the Eagles win and the Jaguars win. But none of those teams turned out to be very good. I mean, Jags missed the playoffs. Eagles and Cowboys both one and done. Mm-hmm. So, and there's that thing of like, oh, we broke the Eagles or whatever. And I do believe that somewhat because they really went into a nosedive after we beat them, where they were 10-1 and then they like only won one more game the rest of the season. Yeah. But, nonetheless, the Eagles kind of cooked their own goose in the off season when they let go of all their linebackers. They let go of Hargrave. And not only that, but, we got him. And then CJ Gardner-Johnson going to the Lions. I don't really like the guy, but he's talented. And then obviously Sumalu and I guess Sanders wasn't that big of a loss with Swift coming in, but I guess the other big thing was their coordinators leaving, right?
Yeah, I think that was huge for them.
Yeah, Steichen was huge, and they said they were going to miss Gannon, but they clearly did. They missed them both. And Sirianni turned out to be, maybe not that great at picking coordinators, right? And maybe not that great of a coach. Yeah. He was definitely on the hot seat there at the end of the season. He managed to avoid getting canned, but maybe not for long. We'll see. Could be coming.
I don't know. To me, it seemed like he maybe have lost that locker room, especially later on this season when they did
AJ Brown.
Yeah, I'd give him another year and then maybe see they might be firing him next year if they don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So that's the thing. Like everybody likes to say, like, oh, you got this record, but who'd you beat, right?
Right.
And and people will say, oh, you lost to PJ Walker and the Browns, and that's true. And you lost to Kirk on Monday Night Football, which he almost never wins on Monday Night Football, and lost to the Bengals, who were not very good this year, but with each, I kind of have my reasons or excuses for those. Like with the Browns, obviously their defense was on a historic pace at that point,
Yeah.
And Kareem Hunt is a solid back, and their other back isn't bad either.
Mm-hmm.
And they still had, Cooper, and they had good receivers. And PJ Walker, while he's not a good quarterback by any stretch of the imagination, he is pretty mobile. Right. And that's a thing that really hurts our defense because we're so focused on the D line as far as our investment. Mm-hmm. So, how do you beat a good D line? A mobile quarterback is one way, a great offensive line. The Browns have a very good offensive line. They're missing Batonio when they play us, who's maybe their best, but they still have a very good O-line and good backups. And then also, I like to say, or not so good offensive line, this you may, where they're allowed to hold, because that's obviously been a talking point this week was Chiefs holding in that last Super Bowl between us. So and then obviously it rained. Purdy is not a good wet football quarterback. Mm-hmm. He struggled there. As soon as that game was over, I started thinking back and remembered I was at the wild card game against the Seahawks last year, and it rained in the first half, and he struggled. And then the sun came out in the second half, and he torched them. And as bad as he torched them, it would have been worse if Ayuk had caught. There was one more TD that Ayuk dropped too. Right. And so I wasn't surprised when he struggled against the Packers. A lot of people were. A lot of people fought me on it. And it's one of the things that's about Brock Purdy. And I'm not saying he can't figure it out. Maybe he can learn better to throw out better with the glove. But when he wore the glove against Green Bay, it was like he got a good spiral and he got some good zip on the ball. You could tell he got the grip. Mm-hmm. But I think the problem is you can grip it, but then you can't control the ungrip part, the release. Right. So like he threw it right to a defender right in his breadbasket. Mm-hmm. And so quickly the glove came off after that. So maybe with some more practice he can improve. But for now, until proven otherwise, Purdy is a fair weather quarterback, in my opinion. And then also people are like, oh, well, he had his first game-winning drive against Green Bay. Mm-hmm. But he actually had a game-winning drive against the Browns, but Moody missed the field goal. Right. And so like Moody is someone we don't trust. You have a huge advantage with Butker against Moody in this game. He's obviously missed, and against the Rams on week 18, he missed a under 40-yard field goal and a PAT. Mm-hmm. And then he missed one. He had one blocked against Green Bay, and he missed that one right before the half against the Lions. So he's had like misses, whether they were blocked or he missed it outright in the last 3 games. 4 in the last 3 games. And then so that's the Browns game. The Vikings game, basically it was pretty back and forth. And then Brock went for a sneak, and as he was extending the ball over, some guy came in from the side and just went crown to the side of his helmet, and literally knocked him over like 1.5 yards, 2 yards. And he got a concussion that was later diagnosed, but he kept playing, and he threw two interceptions after that was when we lost the game. Mm-hmm. So I don't really blame him for that one so much because of the concussion. And then with the Bengals, I was there for that game as well too. And for starters, Burrow carved us up. Like that was one of the few games this season where he was actually healthy, because he had the calf strain early in the season and then the wrist or whatever that he had to get surgery on at the end of the season. But that was where, it was funny because all season long with Burrow, everybody was like, the Bengals, like, oh, they're like the 18th team in the NFL. I'm like, no, it's just Burrow's playing hurt. If he can get healthy, they're still a very dangerous team, and they showed it against us. The other thing too is like that was 6 days after the concussion, and I was surprised that Purdy was cleared to play that fast. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think he was quite right in that game. He did get hit in the head again in that game, but again, not apparently not a concussion. But by the way, so those were our 3, and also for those 3 losses, with the Browns, we lost Debo real early in the game. CMC went out of the game. Right. Trent Williams stayed in but played on a bad ankle. Then Trent missed the next 2 games, and so did Debo. So Trent and Debo were basically out for all 3 of those losses. Right. And CMC was dinged up pretty much for all 3. The one that was harder to explain was the Ravens, because they kicked our butt sideways, except for when you look at, there were 3 tip ball interceptions, and tip balls are typically intercepted at like a 4% rate. Yeah. So you could definitely say it was some bad luck. Mm-hmm. That were so many were intercepted. I mean, if one intercepted, fine. Also, another one of them, I feel like was pass interference because Kittle had position and the DB came through his back to tip the ball. Seemed like a DPI to me, uncalled. But so anyway, so that's some insight into our losses this year. And so sorry for the long-winded explanation.
You good? You good?
Got Kenny 49er Copenhaus says, "Hey, 49ers fans."
Okay.
Got Leslie B in the house saying, "Go Chiefs, let's go." What's up, Leslie? Thanks for joining. And Lexi's in the house. Let's go, DG. Hey guys, what's up, Lexi? So before our show yesterday, there was some guy, I forget the guy's name. She can probably remind us, who had posted up his top 10 for the Super Bowl, like top 10 players of the Super Bowl on both teams.
Is it Jason McIntyre?
No, but he's definitely like a Niners homer. I don't know him. He's not like a traditional Niners guy, but at least lately he's been very kind of homerish.
Right.
And like it's so much so that on this list he listed.
Oh, I know who she's talking about. Yeah,
Carton. Yes, Carton.
Yeah.
The Carton Show, and he listed up 10 players, and he had Mahomes first, no issue there, of course.
Yeah, right.
And he had Butker 10th. I'm like, I didn't list a kicker in mine. Eventually, I did my own list.
Right.
But then in the middle 8, he had all 49ers, and Lexi's like, well, yeah, Carton Show. Lexi's like, well, you know, where's Chris Jones? You know, where's Kelsey?
Yeah.
She said Snead, and I can kind of see Snead, but I do think there's some arguments for Mooney Ward, and they're both corners, so I think you just kind of leave them out of the conversation. Yeah. But I think Snead's probably a little better, honestly. But I just think the Niners defense maybe overall is a little better, or I don't know, D-line, especially without a Menahue, maybe. I don't know. That's a big loss for you guys, I know.
The talent
we've been missing him this season for sure. We just couldn't afford him. We had a few guys like that like they came to the 49ers and they got big paydays to leave. It started with Arden Key from the Raiders. Kosarik, our D-line coach, coached him up. Went to Jags, got a nice fat contract. Same thing with Menahue, and then another one was Ebicom. I don't think Ebicom made a ton more, but he made more and for longer years. I think more guaranteed than what he got from the Rams before he came to us.
Right.
We got Darwin's Raven in the house. What's up, Darwin? Welcome.
Man.
He came on with me, obviously, before Christmas Day, and he also came on before the AFC. It wasn't the AFC Championship game. It was before the Texans game when Mark Andrews had been practicing and he wasn't necessarily cleared to play. And then Marlon Humphrey was out, and I was like, "Hey, Darwin, I got the feeling like I would rather have Marlon Humphrey than Mark Andrews if I had to pick between one of the two." And he said the same thing, just because they have, Likely and other tight ends compared to the drop off at corner, especially beyond their, number 2 corner, it gets pretty big. And they obviously beat the Texans, but the Texans started out a little bit hot. I thought it was interesting while we're talking about Texans and divisional round weekend. I thought it was interesting that the Texans against the Ravens and the Packers against us both won the toss and both elected to receive the football. Most analytics guys these days choose to defer so that they can get the ball in the second half. And I was excited that we got that against the Packers, and I'm like, hey, we got the ball end of the second half, we'll just score here and score coming out of the half. And Moody missed the kick, and we went 3 and out in the first drive of the third quarter. I was like, oh man, that didn't work so well like it's supposed to, with doubling up on possessions. But I just thought that was interesting. And another team that took the ball too was the Lions. I had some Lions creators on. I do a lot of these behind enemy Lions shows. I had some Lions creators on before, and one of them swore up and down that if they won the toss, they would take the ball. And I said, then it's almost for sure that the Lions will start with the ball in the NFC Championship game because Kyle loves to defer. And sure enough, they won the toss and they took it. So, so I did. So then there was this other guy, John Frisella, and he did a list. And I was like, oh, this one's a lot better because it's got some Chiefs on there, as there should be. Geez, I mean, it's not like you guys. I mean, Mahomes is great, but nobody gets to the Super Bowl by themselves, right? I mean,
yeah, of course.
Let's be real, right?
Yeah.
And so he did one, and I was like, oh, this one's a lot better. I don't know about the order because some of the Chiefs were a little higher than I would have had them, and I was like, and there's no Bosa, and it's like, so
yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gonna do my own. So I did one, and I'll see what you think about this.
Okay.
Because I just did this today, I think, or I guess it was last night at 6:30.
Okay.
So I said Mahomes number 1, of course,
Mhm.
and then I said Trent Williams number 2, CMC 3, Chris Jones 4, Fred Warner 5, Bosa 6, Kelsey 7, Kittle 8, Debo 9, and then for 10, I said Brock and Ayuk. I kind of fudged and made it 11 because I knew if I didn't put Brock on there somewhere that his fan club would come with the pitchforks and torches for me. And I did put Kelsey ahead of Kittle, not because I feel that way, but just because I feel like the majority of people feel like Kelsey's the better tight end. Right. And Kelsey did better in Super Bowl 54. He's been in more Super Bowls. He's got the better career.
Yeah.
I just feel like as of right now, Kittle might be a little better, but it's obviously, you can make an argument either way.
It's either or, whoever I understand people who like Kittle, who think Kittle is a dog, and he definitely is, man. Kelsey is the same way too, but I don't blame anybody if they think Kittle is better. Personally, I just being a Chiefs fan, I think our guy is or whatever. But at the same time, I see what Kittle does every Sunday, man. He's out there putting up the numbers and putting up the stats and definitely playing in games like this obviously help your career. So, he's also a great guy to have mic'd up. I love hearing him mic'd up anytime.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
He's
been my favorite player since he got here. I love Kittle. That's why my wife got me his jersey for Christmas.
Yep.
I've been kind of rocking the Purdy just to kind of support him because everybody agrees Kittle's great. It's the Purdy is the one that gets all the flack or the hate right now. Shardal Gupta in the house, SG Sports Talk. What's up, Shardal? Make sure you check out his channel. Kenny 49er Colt. Warner does more than Jones. Interesting. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like Chris Jones. I feel like Aaron Donald used to be the best tackle in the NFL, D tackle, and I kind of feel like Chris Jones last year and this year has kind of taken that crown away from Aaron Donald a little bit. But Warner, I put Warner ahead of Bosa, not like all time, but just currently. I feel like Fred's played better this season. Bosa held out for his monster, contract this year, and he only literally practiced like 2 practices before we flew out to Pittsburgh for our home opener there.
Right.
And so it's affected him this season. He just hasn't. Nick Bosa hasn't been quite himself this season. He's starting to, like in the NFC Championship game towards the end. You saw him really kind of take over. So I'm hoping we see more of that in the Super Bowl. But there hasn't been a ton of evidence this season like usual. Definitely not as good as 2022. And even his first year back from the ACL, 2021, I think was a little bit better than this season. But maybe about the same. We got Kingdom Cast in the house saying gang, what's up? It's funny because a lot of 49ers fans say bang, bang, Niner gang. So that's interesting.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of that, but, I don't want to be the old grumpy guy either. So Kenny 49er Culp says, let's keep it 100%. Absolutely. That's what we're here for. You guys help us. If we say something you don't like, make sure you let us know.
Right.
Am I doing a show on February 9th? Oh, that's right. We had talked about doing a show. We just got to figure out the time. As long as you're available during like business hours, Shardal, we should be able to make that work. Pat, Travis, Pacheco, anyone else in KC that's scary? Yeah.
I think we got two pretty elite corners that are making some noise. I know that some people may not know who they are, and that's a given just because those guys are they haven't been in the league very long. Trip McDuffie's just been his second year. Jerry Sneed as well has kind of been a guy who's flown underneath the radar, kind of like the guy you took from us, Travarius Ward was, just came in under the radar. But those guys this year probably have formed one of the better cornerback tandems in the league, and I think also Chris Jones is obviously a top 5 defensive tackle in the league. If you want to argue with anybody, putting him up against Aaron Donald, whatever. To me, it doesn't really matter who's better or whatever. I like our guys as well too, but I think Aaron Donald's a beast, man.
I'd say top 5 defensive linemen, not just D tackle.
Yeah. I said, I always say that I think Jones is really a defensive end stuck in the defensive tackle's body.
There you
go.
So then we compare him with TJ Watt, Bosa, Myles Garrett,
right.
that crew. Right. I don't quite go with Micah because he's not a full-time down lineman. He kind of sneaks in as a linebacker where it's a lot harder to double team a linebacker than a guy who's got his hand in the dirt. So, I would say Noah Gray should be on there. I would say obviously Rashee Rice should be on there.
Yeah, Rice she's been phenomenal this year. Yeah.
And what about Bolton? I mean, didn't he have a scoop and score TD in the last Super Bowl?
No, Nick Bolton is definitely a guy that if I was game planning against him, that I would circle as well too. He's definitely a very instinctual linebacker, kind of like how Fred Warner is. I think Fred Warner is obviously better in pass coverage than Nick Bolton probably will be in his career. That's not one of Nick Bolton's very strong suits, but at the same time, Nick is like I said, very instinctual player, gets us lined up correctly. He is able to absorb everything that Spags kind of throws at him at that point in time. He's the play caller on that defense or whatever. So for Nick, man, he's been phenomenal this year. Obviously, when he went down with his injury, we missed him a lot. Other guys like Drew Tranquil and Leo Chanel and Willie Gay, those guys were able to step in and help us, get through that part of the season. But then once Nick came back, it seemed like our defense really gelled back together, and now they're playing, like I said, their best ball going into these playoffs.
And Lexi told me yesterday that that Willie Gay is practicing. So you guys think he's going to play?
Yeah. Willie should be good to go.
That's a big boost for sure.
Yes,
Kenny says Detroit had the same issue, 3 great players and then ... So who are the great players for Detroit? I think there's more than 3 for starters because you got to go Hutch.
Yeah.
Right? You got to go Hutch. You got to go Amon-Ra.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go Laporta.
Yeah.
And then maybe not either Montgomery or Gibbs, but as a duo together, they're pretty much equal CMC. So that's at least 4.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're leaving some people off.
I think
the whole line. I mean, geez Louise. Penei Sewell is getting to be right up there with Trent Williams. Ragnow, we saw how great he is, even with a sprained knee and a sprained ankle. The guy's a warrior.
Yep.
The other tackle, Decker. And don't forget Glasgow, the all-pro right guard.
Yeah,
the only weakness they had on that line was due to injury, due to Jonah Jackson being out. So I'd say Detroit's got closer to 10 great players than 3, but that's just me. And with the Chiefs, we talked about some. I think we also forgot Eric Reed, right? The safety. I think he's
Justin Reed.
Justin Reed. Sorry.
Yeah.
Eric's older brother. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah. He played for you guys.
He did.
Yeah.
My bad. That's probably why his name popped in my head first.
Yeah. Justin. Yeah, Justin's been great this year, man. I think he's obviously had one of his better years. He got a lot of flack last year, just because I think he kind of came in and had to really, immerse himself in Spag's system and just couldn't. It's hard to do that in one full season and just take a guy from another system and put him into, this system and ask him just to have success. So I think he's a lot more comfortable this year. I also think that our safety play and guys like Mike Edwards and Shamari Connor, and also Brian Cook, who we lost earlier on the season, but those guys to me really stepped up their level of play and allowed Justin to be able to do the things that he does, like coming down in the box and be a lot more physical at the line. So yeah, Justin's been phenomenal, especially down the stretch for us.
There you go. Lexi says rice, baby. Real quick, just wanted to come back up to Kenny. Said Jones rushes the QE. All right, so I'll say Fred's more cerebral than Chris Jones, but that doesn't necessarily make him a better player. Chris Jones is a physical specimen. He's a monster. So he says, no offense to the Mensa linemen. I will say usually that's more offensive linemen are known for being smart than D linemen. Because D lineman is kind of more like C quarterback, hit quarterback. They say like, when they do that, was it S2? Is that the cognition test that supposedly said CJ Stroud was not going to be a good quarterback, and show how good that is. But they do say in those tests, like D edge players are like they can have a low score and still be great, more than any other position on the football field. Obviously, quarterback usually you got to be the smartest, but the middle linebacker definitely is a very smart position. It has to be. Especially the way Fred plays. So I agree with that. What else? Niner gang or don't bang. That's my buddy Lawrence Jackson Jr. says that a lot. I don't know if he was the first, but he definitely says that a lot. He's Platform 246 is his channel. If anybody wants to check him out, a great guy. Darwin says, I don't know if you saw Vinovich. I messed up the PI calling the 2018 conference championship. So that was Saints, versus Rams. That sent the Rams to the Super Bowl. Well, not exactly. There was still some play after that, but a lot of people blame that call for the Rams going to the Super Bowl, where they lost badly to the Pats. They didn't score TD and only scored one field goal. He also called 54. Darwin, you know what game he also called? The Ravens game, where I was just saying that guy came through Kittle's back and there was no PI called. So, that's two where I think the Niners, got a little shafted by Vinovich. So I hope he doesn't do that again. But, I can't. There's nothing I can do about it. So I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on the refs. I just, like we said earlier, we just hope it's a fairly called game. For sure. I was not excited when I heard it was Vinovich. I'll just say that for sure. We got Jody Newsom in the house saying hi to DG. We've been talking a little bit about syncing up to stream, so hopefully we can our schedules can match up to do that. Great to meet Lexi. Hope to meet her. It's great meeting you. Got a few other folks coming on too. Curtis Nuttree TV. He and I have been going at it for years. I think since the last Super Bowl. He's going to come on next. He does a lot of spaces on Twitter. He has a little group of folks that he does that with. Let me see what else. As long as we're talking about it, I might as well just talk about it. There's another one next week. C-Pen for the win.
That's Chuck. That's Kingdom Cast.
Nice. He'll be on Tuesday morning, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. And then also Alex Givens, Monday, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. And then Curtis is going to be Wednesday at 1 Pacific, 4 Eastern. And that's it for now. But I think there's more. There's quite a few more people who have expressed interest. And the tough part about working with me for a lot of people is that I do most of my work Monday through Friday, business hours, because that's when we have childcare. And then I'm on daddy duty from about 5 p.m. Pacific onward. Evenings and weekends is really hard for me to bribe mom to watch both sons, because we have a 4-year-old and a 4-month-old, and so between the two, it's a lot. And the 4-month-old doesn't sleep yet, so we were thinking 3 months he'd be all right. Now we're into month 4 and he's still not sleeping, so fingers crossed that changes soon. That'll drive you nuts for sure. Oh, here he is. Here's Chuck right here. Don't forget about 95. Chris Jones, he's outstanding. We've been singing his praises for sure. Shardall, 2 or 3 could work. Well, no, 3 cannot work. I do my weekly show with Bashar at 3. Well, anyway, let's talk about this in DMs. We don't need to do this in the chat. We'll figure it out. I'd say 1:30 would be better than 2, just to give us some time. Very few interceptions. If you guys have an int, if one guy has 2 ints. That's always a good question. Chiefs win if, Niners win if. What are your scenarios there?
Chiefs win if they take care of the ball offensively. they stay on script offensively, and man, use the run. Don't abandon the run game, even if it's not working early on. They also win defensively if they are able to take away the ball. And I know what I think Kenny just said about the interceptions this year. They were a team that wasn't really keen on taking away the football. They more so just were able to get teams off the field. A lot of 3 and outs, a lot of sacks and things of that nature, getting teams in long distances, having to make them go the length of the field. So then the playoffs come around, and now they've been taking the ball away a lot, 3 times last week. Obviously, they were able to force a couple turnovers against Buffalo that they just weren't able to come up with at that point in time, and then a couple against Miami as well too. So they've been a little bit better here in the playoffs at taking away the football. If they can do that in the Super Bowl, it would greatly help them. But I think they're well equipped enough to go out there and be able to get a couple 3 and outs and get the ball back for our offense as well too. I think the Niners win if they, obviously, I think if they do the same things. I think it's kind of a similar thing, man. As long as they stay on script, don't abandon the run, get away from it. I know you guys have expressed that Kyle Shanahan likes to kind of get away from some things at points in games and stuff like that. So as long as they do that and then don't turn over the ball as well too. I also think they win if Brock Purdy uses his legs well in this game. I think that's a underrated weapon of his, and if he can make some plays outside the pocket, I think it could be maybe a long night for us defensively. So I think this is a very tough matchup. We got our work cut out for us on this side, man. We're not taking this game lightly at all. We've seen you guys in the Super Bowl before, so we got a ton of respect for what you guys have been able to do over there. I personally think you guys have been one of the best teams in the league this year, despite some of the several losses that you guys have had. Every team kind of runs into some sloppy losses or whatever throughout the season, but I think you guys have been on point this year, and it shows a testament to a team when you can be down these past couple games and come back and win these games. You guys got to make plays to do that, and you guys have been able to do that. So Chiefs got their work cut out for them. It's not going to be easy.
There you go. No doubt. I feel the same way. You mentioned this part. Don't do what the Ravens did and abandon the run. Like that goes, like you said, it goes for you, it goes for us. But Darwin was talking to us, obviously, because he wants us to get revenge for them since they weren't unable to beat you guys in the AFC Championship.
Right.
And but what Spags does is he loads the box, and then Kyle was like, well, there's a loaded box, we can't run. That's what happened in the Super Bowl. We just stopped running the ball. And after the game, Terran Matthew, the Honey Badger, even said, like, oh, thank goodness you guys started having Jimmy G throw, because we had no answer for the run game, including Mostert, Tevin Coleman, and Debo, I think, had like 16 yards per reverse or something crazy. Maybe because of one long one, but he was getting at least 10 yards on every reverse. So that was frustrating to me. Let's see. Lexi had a point. She said, "Don't forget Humphrey and Trey Smith." And I guess Tooney might play. I mean, I guess there's some talk that he might.
No, Tooney's probably gonna be done for the year. I think they officially announced that he's
they did. Okay, because yesterday there was still some question.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that, but not surprised. I mean, torn pec.
Yeah.
Nobody comes back from that in like 3-4 weeks.
Break,
Usually it's like 6 to 8 weeks minimum. So that's not surprising at all. But Creed and Trey Smith are incredible. Especially Trey Smith, just because like you guys got him in the 6th round. Kenny was agreeing. Chiefs line is tough for sure. We got Paul Hope in the house. He says, "Let's go, Ted." What's up, Paul? Welcome to see. So Paul's from 49ers Faithful UK.
Okay.
So it's getting late over there for him. It's about coming up on 10 p.m. He's probably finished dinner.
Wow, that's great.
Getting ready to we have a little visitor here. Can you say "Go Niners," buddy?
Go Niners!
Hey, how you doing?
Good. All right, buddy. Give me 1 sec here. Usually he pays attention to the on-air sign on my door, but sometimes not.
Right.
I get that lock fixed. But anyways, very cute. That's my son Ford, the 4-year-old. He just turned 4 on the 23rd, and so we had his like kitty birthday Sunday. In fact, I missed a lot of the AFC Championship game because we had his birthday before the NFC Championship game.
You got a superstar in your hands, man.
Hopefully, we'll see. So Paul was also saying, looking forward to hearing from a Chiefs fan. Yeah, Paul missed yesterday when Lexi was on because he was going live with my buddy Aaron. I do a weekly show with Aaron on Wednesdays called First and Ted. He's 49ers First Takes, and he and Paul went live right at noon yesterday when Lexi and I were supposed to. We were a few minutes late, so I got to be in the audience at the beginning and say hi over there, which is kind of good. I kind of got to do the best of both worlds for a minute. And of course I rewatched it. So it was a great show. Nice work, Paul. But yeah, the 400 Faithful UK came over for the Bucks game. And there's this area at Levi's called the Gold Mine. It's a 40-person section. And there was like 36 Brits and 4 Yanks. Me and a couple other content creators were lucky enough to be included. And a lot of fun. Got to meet all these. And Paul, you can see him there. That's him from that day. That's Levi's. Behind him, he was wearing the CMC jersey. And who scored the first touchdown in our end zone? CMC. Yeah. And that was Paul's first ever live touchdown. So it's really rare to get to, see an adult who's seen their first ever live NFL touchdown because it come from the UK, obviously.
Right.
So that was a lot of fun. Anyway, so great day and great guy. And so is the 400 Faithful UK. If you ever get a chance to have Paul or he's the vice president. The president is Lee Gallen. They're both great guys. With Nick Ludlam. They're awesome. Yeah. Awesome folks. So DJ Scratch was saying Niners, the D from Niners is crazy. Bosa and Young, root for them at Ohio State. Yeah, I mean Bosa is Chase Young. We're calling him like Jog Young. Yes.
Yeah, I've heard the feedback isn't very positive about.
No, I mean he's playing for a contract. I don't think he's going to get a lot. We were saying like we traded a comp third for him, and we're for sure going to comp third back. I was like, not if he gets injured or not if he shows this. I think he'll still get as a comp third just because he's still a real good third down pass rush specialist, but his run contain is not good. He did have 2 or 3 really good run stuffing plays against the Lions late in the game, but it's been a little bit disappointing with Chase Young. I heard some people saying they thought we should start Randy Gregory instead. It's just too bad we lost to Menahue, to you guys, Ebucom. And then we had Cleveland Farrell, who he's kind of underrated D end. He's not a Menahue by any stretch, but he was good at setting the edge for a run stuff fit. And he was ruled out on IR a couple weeks ago, so that's a shame. See here, Carl Weathers passed away today, age of 76.
Wow. Yeah, man, that's tough.
Yeah, and not just that, but also Predator movie, that famous meme with him and Arnold flexing.
R.I.P. to him. And
he was.
Many prayers to his family.
Incredible actor, and like that. I mean, that was like one of those rare things where like I liked Rocky 2 better than Rocky 1.
Yeah.
I mean.
I kind of do this one.
I think that was my favorite of all the whole Rocky, however there were 4 or 5, or I guess there were more, but I don't count past 4 really. Yeah. 3 was awfully good with Mr. T too. But RIP to Carl Weathers, and like you said, prayers up for him and his family and friends. Absolutely. Thanks for letting us know, Chardall. Apollo, absolutely great character. There we go. I got David McNiner in the house. He has his own channel too, so make sure you check him out. He's always likes to say LF. It's F and Go 49ers. Kenny says liked him way more than Rocky. He was pretty likable, man.
Yeah. Well, they made a whole series after his name now, like with his son and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. It's crazy.
like everybody loved Apollo Creed more than they loved him.
Yeah, I mean, there you can see why. Oh, you know what else he was in too? He was just in Mandalorian. Mando. Oh man, yeah, that was a great character he played there too.
Yeah.
Happy Gilmore. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, absolutely. See here, DJ Scratch is saying tip to the Chiefs. You have to control the clock, play us slow, and keep Mahomes off the field. Yeah, absolutely. We need to run the ball. Or even if you're not running, like screen passes and, short pass game can be helpful. Mm-hmm. But I think you got to air it out some too. You got to have some long passes and some long runs to make the Chiefs spy Brock. Yeah. Because when the Lions started to spy him in the NFC Championship game, that's when things opened up for us. I always say, the great thing about a quarterback who can run and who can throw deep is keeps the safety back out of the box, and one of the guys in the box has eyes on him and not on the weapons. So that's our problem with stacking the box against you guys is, we want to stack it against you, but then you run the risk of Patrick Mahomes going deep. Yeah. Everybody tries to keep him from throwing deep. And also, like I said, one of the guys in the box has to have eyes on him, or he'll hurt you with his legs. He does it all the time. Super Bowl is 11:30 over in the UK, 8 hours later from the West Coast. So 6 hours later from you there in Central.
You're right.
Chubbs Peterson. There you go. Oh, that was from the Happy Gilmore. Go Niners, go Niners. All right, everybody's liking it. Okay. We're just on the Ford stuff. I guess I'm a little behind. Not too. Oh, wait, yeah, I am. Oh, we'll get caught up here. As a Chiefs fan, are you confident?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, especially with the way they've been playing, over the playoffs. But as always, man, I go into any game. I played, sports as well too, growing up, and you can be beat any day. Especially if you don't play your best game. So there's always that opportunity and chance for if a team plays better than you, they'll beat you. So I'm confident, but I know that our opponent is. I respect the Niners. I respect what Kyle Shanahan. I think he's one of the better coaches in this league, one of the better play callers in this league. I think you could arguably put him right up there next to Andy, as well as far as offensive schemes and what he's able to do. So, like I said, man, to all the Niner faithful, man, we got our work cut out for us on this side. We know how good of a team you guys really are. Yeah, man, I'm confident, but at the same time, I will not be shocked if, we lose it too. So,
That's sort of how I feel. I was going to say, a lot during the off season, I said that Andy was Kyle until Andy got Mahomes, until Kyle passed on Mahomes, actually, because we could have had Mahomes instead of Solomon Thomas. Also, in between those two, was what I said at the time was like, hey, we picked the wrong guy from Stanford because CMC went number 9 right before Mahomes at 10.
I can imagine Pat with Kyle would be wow, especially with those weapons too.
But who knows how it all would have played out? We didn't have a good O-line. We didn't have good weapons then. So, maybe we never get them. Maybe we're too high to get Debo, and who knows how it all plays out. We might have had Kittle, but I think we got Kittle because we got CJ Beathard. That just came out today. That we never would have drafted Kittle if we hadn't taken Beathard, since they were classmates at Iowa. They graduated together from Iowa. And also then when CJ moved on to the Jaguars, the comp pick we got back was number 262. So that's pretty, I mean, say what you will, but I was like, wow, none of this would have happened without CJ. Because otherwise I don't have a lot of great things to say about him other than that he was tough. The guy was like a human punching bag. Got some comments about Ford, adorable, Mini Ted. Yeah. he's got some good stuff from Mama. Luckily, that's the good
Superstar,
news.
man. Superstar.
Yeah. So a fun guy in the house says, when the moon hits your knees and you mispronounce trees, sycamore. So he always brings the dad joke. Bad as a slip, but dad jokes, they're not always funny, but they're usually pretty punny. But Silly Fun Guy's a Rams fan, definitely a cool Rams fan.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite one, I would say. No offense, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights, but Silly is he brings dad jokes. He also has some good takes too.
Yeah.
So adorable. Thank you. Run CMC. Yeah, that's going to be a key for us.
Yep.
So I would say for 49ers, keys to the game are stop Pacheco, limit Mahomes, run the ball, and if you can't run it, short passing game, but so you can control the clock and keep the chains moving. We don't want to get into a drop back passing situation. Chiefs, whether it's by blitz or natural, have one of the best pass rushing percentages in the league. Obviously, Omenihu being out will hurt that some, but I think still with Spags, you got to be worried about the pass rush. And our O-line is not built to pass block. Trent Williams is incredible. Like I said, I have number 2 on our list of Super Bowl players, but the other 4 guys on the offensive line, especially Banks and Feliciano, are not great pass. So both our guards are not great pass blockers. They're much better run blockers, in my opinion. There we go. Very welcome, Paul. No offense to Kingdom Cast, but can we have Lexi? Hey, whoever wants to come back is welcome. That's something I talked to DG about backstage. I was saying, if you want to come back on for a recap, you're certainly welcome. Definitely prefer if we lock it down before the game. Otherwise, I'm a little less likely to agree to it.
Right.
But I probably would anyway. As long as we get along, and we definitely have today. So
win or lose, I'll be back for sure.
There you go. Love it. All right, then I'll commit to it too. What about do you have a prediction for the game?
Ooh, I've been thinking, man, and it's tough just because I just think what both these teams can do is kind of unpredictable. At points in times, I think they've shown their dominance, and then at points in times they've shown that they can get off course. So, man, I'll say I'll give one prediction. I won't give a score prediction, but I will say I don't think either team scores over 30 this game.
I agree with that. I kind of said 24-21 Niners, and then I was thinking that requires us to hit a field goal. So I'm thinking maybe more like 28-24 Niners.
Yeah. I can see that. I think I got too much respect for both defenses. I think they've both played well at points in times this year, and I think they're both going to play well on Sunday. So I don't really see this being a shootout. If we get a shootout, that's something I'll be shocked about. But I definitely think this is going to be. I think this game kind of comes down to whose defense is going to make more plays and be better at points in time. So,
no doubt about it. Paul was impressed by your road wins at the Bills and at the Ravens. I was super impressed by the Ravens because I thought I picked the Ravens to win. I was rooting for the Chiefs, like I said earlier. I wanted that revenge, the more recent revenge. But I thought the Ravens would win. I thought their defense would be the difference. And it kind of was, just not right at the beginning, I guess, basically, right? And the Bills was a little bit, I did pick the Bills too, but it was a little bit less impressive to me because there are just so many injuries on that defense. They were so banged up, starting with Tre'Davious White, Matt Milano, and then pretty much every starting linebacker. It really showed in that game. They just had the middle of the field was mushy for them. But and their kicker missed that kick too, which could have changed everything. But hey, whatever. Obviously the Dolphins was super impressive though. just smoked them. That was not even close. And if we weren't the best offense, they were. So to hold them to 7 points is impressive, no matter what the weather is. So that's off there for sure. I've always been any given Sunday, the night before the Super Bowl. Is that just me?
Really? I've seen it, but I never watched it before a game or anything like that. So
there you go. I have never seen it, despite the popularity of the phrase.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a lot of football movies, to be honest. Right. So I mean, what was the? It's called Brian's Song. Is that the song? The one about?
Oh yeah, Gil Sayers and
yeah, Brian Piccolo.
Yeah.
That I saw. That was the tearjerker for sure. But that's old. I'm old, so
I've seen it too.
I'm 53. So greatest football. There you go. Hello, Red Jet Show on Sentinel. I was just saying hi.
I figured, man, there's no way he was in that good of shape and he wasn't an athlete.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about. There you go, linebacker prospect. Interesting. He says I try not to watch it too much, so just once a year before the Super Bowl, and they got it.
Al Pacino has a great speech in that movie at the end. It's pretty inspiring.
There you go. Shardall said he signed with the Raiders in 70.
I did not know that.
I did not either.
Yeah, I didn't know he played at all.
Run the ball in that 2-6-2 ball and play action. Yeah, no, those are huge. Have you guys? Oh, okay, we did that, so we're a little behind. I didn't know that either. Huh.
I didn't know that either. You guys got a lot of interesting facts that I didn't know about Carl.
We'll probably try what we did against Jalen Hurts. Absolutely, we should mush rush Mahomes. No defensive end goes deeper than the quarterback, and you don't go for the sack until you've got him all the way surrounded. That's a mush rush. We kind of did it against Lamar, but a few times. One time, Chase Young went deep and just barely missed sack him, but he missed him, and then Lamar had his longest run. And another time, Lamar squeezed out to the left again, and that was against Cleveland Farrell. Yeah. Same thing, went too deep. So you got to be real careful not to go too deep or be like trying to get for individual glory. You just got to wait and do it as a team, or you're going to end up paying a price. It says, someone getting 30.
All right. We'll see. I don't see it, but we'll see. I think both defenses are obviously at the top of the league, and I just think that both coordinators, Steve Wilks and Spagnuolo, will be ready for this game.
Just depends on how long it takes Steve Wilks to get out of his prevent defense. If he plays it till the half, we're probably cooked. Hopefully he can adjust before halftime, because he loves to play with our guys off the ball and our linebackers back, and a patient quarterback like Mahomes, who honestly has played more like a game manager than Purdy has. It was going to pick us apart. So I hope that doesn't happen. I hope we play tight without too much distance in our zone, because that's what's been killing us lately. It's what killed us in our 3-game losing streak. But people thought the Chiefs were all done because they didn't have a great regular season. You just need to get to the playoffs. Doesn't matter what seed. Yeah, you just got to be healthy and hot for the playoffs. The seed, I mean, I mean, I'll say if you're great, it doesn't matter your seed. I think for the Niners, it mattered because, playing in Philly last year, it's interesting that, obviously Purdy tore his UCL, or Hassan Reddick tore Purdy's UCL in the NFC Championship game. Yeah. And the same thing happened to another 49ers quarterback, Nick Mullins, in Dallas in 2020, the COVID year. DeMarcus Lawrence came off the edge and tore his UCL. And they're the only two NFL QBs who have ever had the repair plus internal brace surgery. But like when you're in Philly and like the guy's coming off the edge, like when you get beat as a blocker, you usually yell like "look out" or "fire," or there's some code word you scream to let the quarterback know to look out. And I don't think you could hear it over the noise at the link. And so I was saying, like, this year I thought it was really important to get the number 1 seed, and I think, especially like I can't imagine playing the Lions in Detroit. That could have been a whole different ball game.
Yeah, especially with how loud that place can probably get.
I mean, I will say, here's what I will say about the number 1 seed though, is that there's that rest versus rust, and I hate that term because you get the rest from resting, but like it's really like rest versus injuries. Obviously you don't want injuries, but like I kind of think the Niners have been rusty too. I think that ever since from taking not just the bye, but then we also most of our starters missed most of the Rams game too. Purdy missed the whole thing. Debo missed the whole thing. So I think that, or not, Debo didn't miss the whole thing. He got a record and then came out, but like CMC missed the whole thing. And so, I will say, like, 2 weeks off is not a good thing in the NFL. One, it's already rest versus rest. Two, it's like
2 weeks off is an eternity.
I think we still haven't got back to where we were earlier in the season, and I hopefully we get it back this against y'all. That would be helpful. Gail Sayers was played by Billy D. Williams. There you go.
Okay. That movie's so old.
There you go.
Oh, really? Yeah, you guys know a lot of stuff that I never knew about Carway.
I didn't know all that either, to be honest.
So
the biggest
it's like
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like I said, man. Well, the biggest key is for us to be consistent with what we've been doing in these playoffs, which is taking care of the football offensively. That's one of the main reasons why our regular season went the way it went. It was a lot of self-inflicted wounds over the season, stuff that we were doing, bad penalties, putting ourselves in bad spots, turning over the ball, not being able to move the ball at some points in times. So they've done a lot better job at focusing and locking in these playoffs to be more consistent with doing that. I think if we are able to do that, and then as well as limit, some drives for the Niners, and also commit to try to kind of stopping the run, because we know how effective a weapon that Christian McCaffrey can be. I think that those are the biggest keys for us to try to do to be able to come out with a victory as well. And then at the end of the day, man, I always say it, every game, our great players have to be great. Mahomes and Trav and Chris, and the guys that we know are all pros. They have to be great that night. So if they want to win, that's what they're gonna have to do.
There you go. Randy says, watch the program, all the right moves, the longest yard, the replacements, the water boy, Rudy, and Little Giants. Rudy, I definitely saw.
Yeah, I see Rudy. I haven't seen the program.
Nope, me neither.
That's what
I said. I'm pretty bad as like a football guy. I haven't seen most of the football movies.
I've seen both longest yard movies.
Here's the key. It says while eating wings. I would throw pizza in there too, but pizza and wings you got to have together. It's like a 1-2 punch. There you go. Well, what else? Anything else? I mean, obviously, like we said, I think Butker's an advantage over Moody. It sounds like you guys like your punter. We really like Mitch Wisnowski.
Yeah, we love Tommy. Tommy's great over here.
So yeah, my X factors are like, I guess. Well, real quick before I get, I kind of mentioned it. MBS, if you can hold on to the ball, undoubtedly there'll be some deep shots.
Yeah,
MBS, and he usually manages to get open. So does he hold on like recently, or does he drop like most of the season? Ambry Thomas has been struggling some, especially against the Packers. He gave up the 3 biggest plays of the game. He also was coming off a hand surgery before that, and then hurt his ankle in the NFC Championship game, so that's one to watch. And then Jair Brown, the rookie safety, he's a lot more physically gifted than Logan Ryan, but he's a rookie. He takes bad angles. He's a ball hawk, so he can get burned. He does get interceptions. He's already had a few. Is
he the one that filled in for Hufanga?
Yes. And at first we were like, Huff who? Because it literally it was only just a couple of 2.5, 3 games, but he was playing great at first. And then the last couple or 3 games before he got injured, he started looking more like a rookie, got injured. We put Logan Ryan in against the Green Bay Packers, even though Jair Brown was cleared to play. And then we thought better of it and put Jair Brown in against the Lions. Nothing huge bad against them, but there were, I think, still some bad angles. Yeah. Maybe on some of those big run plays early on.
Right.
Kinlaw has to play well.
I've heard some negative feedback from Niner fans about him as well.
Yeah, he struggled for a long time. We didn't pick up his 5th-year option, but this season he started to play a little bit better. It's a contract season, so unlike Chase Young, Kinlaw is really playing with a fire under his butt, like you should in the contract season. So, Kinlaw's been pretty good, but other weak areas. Colton McKivitz at right tackle. So if Chris Jones ends up out there on the left wing of your defense, that could be real trouble for us. And then I don't know. I saw on our depth chart for the Super Bowl that Isaiah Oliver was listed as our nickelback, and he hasn't really played since week 8. Since that 3-game losing streak ended. We got rid of him. We moved our corners up towards the line. We moved Steve Wilkes down from the booth, and we picked up Chase Young. And even though he hasn't been great, he's definitely been a help to the defense. I don't think it's real, but if we do see Isaiah Oliver in the slot and the nickel, your slot receiver should be able to just go to town on him. He's great and run fit and all that, but he can't cover worth a lick. Right. And then John Feliciano or Burford was listed as right guard, and Feliciano has been playing the last couple games. I asked for him against Green Bay and got him, and I got asked for Jair Brown against the Lions and got him. And so I'm hoping we stick with Feliciano, and instead of Isaiah Oliver at nickel, what we did was we moved Lenore from the boundary to the nickel in nickel, and then we put Ambry in at the boundary in nickel, not on base down. So hopefully we stick with that, because even as I don't trust Ambry, I trust Isaiah Oliver about 1,000 times less. And Randy's going to hate me for that because he likes Isaiah Oliver. He doesn't really care for.
I was high on Oliver coming out of the draft when he was
out of Boulder.
Yeah, with
Akella Witherspoon, who was our corner for a while. He went to the Seahawks. He went to the Steelers. Now he's a Ram. He's starting to round into be a pretty good boundary corner. Yeah. Isaiah Oliver, like I said, he's real good at the line of scrimmage. Just if anyone gets a step on him, they'll get 2 or 3 by the time the ball's there. It's like he's never making up ground, unfortunately, since that ACL, I guess. So can you please ask for a win and get it, please? I mean, I'm predicting a win. I hope that counts. Yeah. Oh, ask for when I see, because I got I'll ask for it in my article. There you go. Yeah. Thanks. That's Mariah. Make sure you check out her podcast. Like and subscribe, everyone. Randy asked if it was her, and I'm like, I don't think anyone else has control of her channel but her. But anyway, great to see you, Mariah. She does a lot of great giveaways and stuff like that. So and great content as well. Great guests, all that good stuff. She had a spicy show the other night. In fact, I shouldn't talk about it because of drama. I try to stay clear of drama, but there was a little bit of controversy at the end of one of her shows the other night. But these things happen, People get a little heated. But she did a good job of just saying, "Hey, don't do that on my show." And I respect that. You gotta have your boundaries, and I'm trying not to take sides in the whole thing. Even though I do work with Ryan. Anyway, I regardless, I think if you have a beef with somebody, try not to have it on air. I think it's the best point. Even if you think it's justified. Right. especially if you're on someone else's channel.
Yeah,
You really got to not do it. But
we just agree to disagree.
yeah, exactly. So I know this has nothing to do with the program, but you guys have heard about the mysterious deaths of 3 fans. Please pray for their family.
Yeah, it's a weird story here. I think it was the start of the playoffs though, but there was in Kansas City, I believe on the Kansas side, there were 3 guys that were randomly found in the backyard, frozen to death. And I guess the guy who owned the house didn't know that they were back there for about 2 or 3 days or so. I don't know. It's the weirdest story I've heard. They mysteriously passed away somehow in the back of it. I don't know. It's weird. It's definitely a weird story. If you guys want to go look at it, it's online. But yeah, definitely a weird story.
It's like a true detective.
Yeah, like they're still trying to figure out, I guess, how they passed away, or supposedly like they were just found frozen to death. I don't know. Like, it's crazy.
Wow, really crazy. Well, prayers up for them and their family.
Yeah,
just like
sure.
DJ said, sorry to hear that, and not what you want rolling into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, especially watching the Chiefs games.
Yeah,
after watching, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's really sad.
Yeah.
Well, wild. I was watching Bring the Heat, so I wasn't sure what. Oh, okay, there you go. Exactly. Heard that weird. It is weird. Very sad.
Yeah. Very
when
creepy.
you freeze to death, you just fall asleep. No, they say it's one of the best ways to go compared to, like, I guess burning, I guess, is the most painful, but nonetheless. Anyway, dying is always sad, regardless.
And I've seen the story. I'm one of those guys that, like, I don't really like too much negativity, in my life. So when I seen it, I just kind of, more prayers to those families, but I kind of scroll past it.
Don't like publicize it or whatever. Drowning is my nightmare.
Yeah, a lot of.
I've had that nightmare a few times.
Yeah, right.
Especially, no doubt about it. Jesus, Randy. All right. Anything else that we should talk about while we're here together? I think we covered most everything.
Yeah, I think I was going to ask you guys if do you guys have any kind of significant injuries that you're kind of worried about going into the game?
Kittle has a toe. He missed practice yesterday, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, that's why he was limping when he was at the Warriors game. He was walking a little bit funny.
Is it like a turf toe situation?
I don't think so. I think it was more like a stepped on toe, like a bruise or something. Okay. I think he's all right because Kyle said it's just a toe, like not turf toe. So. But we said something like that about Clelin Ferrell, and next thing you know, he's on season-ending IR. So, you know how it can be with injuries. I personally, he said he was going to be back, and I really think Kittle will be back. I think it would take heaven and earth to stop him from being there. But even if he's not 100%, though, that could be huge for us. He's so huge as a blocker. Obviously, as a receiver, also just as a leader, motivational, keep it light, laugh, all that stuff. So, healthier than usual. Yeah, I mean, I said during the offseason that I didn't think the 49ers would win the Super Bowl. And not, firstly, because I didn't think Brock would improve this much. Both his deep ball throwing and his deep run, getting lots of yards when he scrambles. He'd never really shown signs of that much last year. Yeah. He was good at evading the pass rush, but then he would take a couple steps and people would be chasing him down from behind. And he wasn't great with the deep balls. Like this year, he was insane throwing deep passes. That was part of it. But part of it was I just figured we wouldn't be as healthy as we were last year. And when you think about last year, like, oh, we're missing Jimmy, we're missing Trey Lance, obviously that's huge, but if Purdy stays healthy, you really don't miss those guys, especially now. These things are coming out. I don't know if you heard in the news, but like Jed York, our owner, was saying that Kyle went to him early in training camp in 2022 and said, oh, I think our third string quarterback is our best QB. And I'm like, well, then why don't you start him? Because I had a lot of words about that. Like, not trusting Kyle with QBs. And I went through this whole list, and one of them was if Brock Purdy was our third string quarterback to start the season. Was he our third best QB? Most people would say no, he wasn't our third best. He was. A lot of people think he was our best or second best. Right. So where was I going? So if Purdy stays healthy, we don't miss those two. And the only other one we were really missing was Emmanuel Mosley. And then Lenore came in, and he was our best corner last playoffs. I know he was our best corner against Green Bay. I think he was at least as good as Mooney Ward in the NFC Championship game. So he's like our best playoff corner, Diamador Lenore. So we don't really miss Mosley. I couldn't imagine that we would be, as healthy this year as we were last year. And really all it is this year is Cleveland Farrell, as I mentioned, but the bigger one is Hufanga. And like I said, Hufanga looked like we weren't going to miss him too much, but I think we do miss him quite a bit, especially our run defense. But it's about as healthy as I could have expected us to be. So I'm pretty happy from that perspective. I just wish our defense was playing a little bit better or better earlier in games. We played well at the end, but we need to start out strong against the Chiefs if we want to be able to win. I don't think we can spot you guys 2 quarters, even one whole quarter. I think maybe a drive or 2, and we got to figure it out. So Fungus says, either of you guys worried about special teams? Well, Moody is a concern. I mean, one of our creators had famously said earlier this season, another definition for Moody is unpredictable. He's an interesting story. If you weren't following us that closely to know sort of how it went down, he started out perfect. Then against the Browns, he missed 2 field goals, including the game winner that I mentioned after Purdy drilled the ball. And they missed one against the Vikings from like 40 or 41 yards out in the dome, which is concerning because at least with the Browns, like they had the swirling wind, it was raining. It's one of the tougher places to kick. Like, Minnesota is not in the dome. And then he was perfect again up until the Rams, where he missed the field goal, shorter field goal, and not shorter, but medium field goal and extra point. But both of the perfect sections, they didn't look good. There was a lot of ones just shaving in. And in the second stretch of perfection, quote unquote perfection, there were some 55 and 60 yard plus ones that we could have attempted and we punted instead. So it wasn't as perfect as it sounded, certainly not as it looked on a box score. And so I wasn't surprised to see him miss against the Rams. I wasn't surprised to see him miss against the Lions. The block against Green Bay, I don't know how much I blame him, but somebody said that they thought it was going to miss even if it wasn't blocked. I don't know. Usually the guy is blocking it right in the middle. So I think if it gets blocked, it usually probably had a pretty good chance of going in. But so Moody concerns me. Also, if for whatever reason he doesn't kick it into the end zone or out of the end zone for a touchback, our kick return group has been gashed a lot this season for big returns, including you probably saw it in the Green Bay game where the guy returned it like 80 yards.
And Keyshawn Nixon, I think.
Yeah, and then he fumbled, and then they recovered it. Yeah. And I was like, that's it. They're winning because everything's going their way.
Right.
I'm like, God, you got to recover that. They're like, gift wrapped it with a bow, and we're just like, no, we don't want it. So special team punter, like I said, Mitch Wisnowski, he's not going to be like a booming punt guy with a lot of gross yards, but he kicks it real high, so we have great net yardage, and he also does great inside the 5 and 10 yard line, including like ones that come in looking like a helicopter, basically, or a turntable. The way they spin, it'll make it very difficult to field it. So I have zero concerns about Mitch Wisnowski, but Moody a lot, and our kickoff coverage team can be really gashed.
For our side of it, I'm not too worried. I think the only spot that I would kind of be a little bit worried in is maybe with Tommy Townsend. Sometimes he does have a tendency to shank a couple punts from time to time. So especially if you're out in elements, I know it's hard to kick in certain weather and things like that when you're dealing with wind and stuff. So fortunately enough, this game won't be affected by that, hopefully. But he does have a tendency sometimes to shank some punts and stuff like that. Harrison Bucker has been nails all year. He's I think to me he's a top 5 kicker in the league. I thought this year he should have been all pro, but that's not up to my voting or whatever. And then as far as coverage wise, we've been pretty good. Dave Tobe is our special teams coach. He's done a good job this year. Last year, I think was the year to kind of catch us on special teams. We didn't really have a great year last year. I was fortunate enough to still go and win a Super Bowl. So this year they've been a lot better on that in that unit or whatever. A lot of young guys hungry and ready to play on that unit or whatever. I think punt return wise, maybe there could be some discrepancies there. Richie James, who you guys probably know pretty well, has been our returner for the majority of the season, but there is kind of talks. Our special teams coordinator Dave Tobe said today that Kadarius Toney may be back in this game or whatever, and may take over those punt return assignments.
Yes, please.
I would hope that he would stick with Richie, who's been.
When I saw he had been cleared, I quote tweeted it and I said subtraction by addition.
Yeah,
just because I remember him against the Lions, and there were a few other games early this season.
Man. I don't mind them putting him on the field. I'm not one of those fans that's gonna sit here and bash him and and say that he shouldn't be out there. I think he's one of the more dynamic weapons in this league with the ball in his hand. But I do want them, if they do happen to play him, for it to be in packages and plays that he's comfortable doing, whether that be a jet sweep or a little toss screen pass or some kind of pivot route, something simple that he knows how to do or whatever. And as far as punt return, please keep Richie James.
I want the routes, the Kadarius Toney routes in traffic over the middle, baby.
I hope not.
Tip drill.
You're right.
And who's like that for the Niners, who probably you won't see anyway, but just FYI, in case someone gets injured or whatever. Ronnie Bell, the rookie out of Michigan, he had a couple of those.
Ronnie's a KC kid. We know him real here.
Yeah, so he had a couple of those in the preseason that should have been catches. One got intercepted, and then there was another one during the regular season where I don't remember if it got intercepted or not, but it definitely should have been intercepted. Right. And so scary times. I like Ronnie Bell a lot. I call him Bell the Bull. I like the way he runs. Yeah, he had the most yak of anybody in the preseason. Just the little scary on those should be catches. They get turned into INTs. So we'll see. Well, good. Well, DG, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you being here. We'll definitely figure out a time, following the Super Bowl to get together and talk about what happened. And I'll just say thanks to everybody who came by in the chat. It was lively. It was popping. It was a lot of fun. Prayers up for Carl Weathers and for those 3 poor souls in Kansas City. Yeah. And I'll just say peace and go Niners. You want to give us a Chiefs Kingdom, or what do you guys like?
Yeah, man. Follow me, keep it prolific. Follow Kingdom Cast. Go Chiefs, man. You know what it is.
Yeah. Let me get that right. We had at Keep It Prolific on Twitter and X, and then at Kingdom Cast with 2 Ks on YouTube, and the link is in the description of the show for the YouTube channel. So everybody check DG out, give him a like, give him a subscribe, give him a follow, and thanks again everybody for stopping by.